Obviously, people's not going to like me based off what school I went to, and that's fine. You know what I mean? It's part of the rivalry. We don't like them guys, they don't like us. They always talk, especially like after they beat us last year. You know, they had a lot to say, and you know, things got quiet as the season went on. But that was pretty much it. You know, I kind of looked at it as a Beanie Bishop fan club.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here. Another episode of Between Ears. Before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page. Add West Virginia on SI and give us a follow on X at SI_WVU. Obviously, the last 48-ish hours or so have been pretty intense for it not being anywhere near close to the start of the season, as former West Virginia cornerback Beanie Bishop started to make a little bit of headlines a couple of days ago. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then at the end of the show, I was going to make this an entire baseball show previewing the upcoming Super Regional against LSU and recapping what happened last week at the Clemson Regional. But, you know, you gotta change some plans whenever Beanie starts to make the news, and it has to deal with the school up north. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here to start off. So first of all, Beanie doing that, in my opinion, is hilarious. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll go ahead and show the video here. Beanie walks in to the Steelers / Pitt facility or locker room, whatever it is, the UPMC Health Complex, and decides to just, you know, make sure his cleats are nice and clean, and probably didn't really make too many friends up there in Pitt land. But again, the Steelers, they don't give a damn. So anyways, this is him wiping his feet, stomping his feet on the Pitt logo. Is it disrespectful? Yeah. like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can be a West Virginia fan and say, look, that was awesome. That's great. I loved it. But at the same time, is it disrespectful? We can be honest, it is. If a Pitt player went and did this, and I don't know what capacity this would be in, because I don't know how they'd get access to a WVU logo on the floor unless it was in Morgantown or they just bought one offline somewhere just to get payback. And they did this, then yeah, it would be viewed as disrespectful by West Virginia fans. But that doesn't mean it's not okay. It's literally a rivalry for a reason. And to me, the one thing that I take solace in, and I think somebody else may have tweeted something about this as well, and I wholeheartedly agree. The fact that Beanie Bishop only played 1 year at West Virginia and clearly understands what this rivalry means and has that deep level of hatred for Pitt, it's kind of promising. Like, we're changing so much in college athletics nowadays, and kids are going in and out of the portal. They're going to 3 schools in 4 years or 4 schools in 4 years, whatever the case may be. And you start to wonder, are we going to lose that tension in some of these rivalries because these kids don't play against each other every year? They're hopping from one school to the next. One kid may go play in the big game 1 year, and then next year he's in the Red River rivalry, and then the next year after that he might be in the Backyard Brawl. Who knows, right? We don't know how these things are going to work out. And I think that's one thing that fans are really concerned with. Are we going to lose that hatred, that passion, and not only just these rivalry games, but in some of the games just period? Like, are we going to lose some of that because there isn't that deeper meaning to, hey, I committed to come play here for this school, for this coach, for this state, these fans, and so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to have some of those kids that don't have that same level of meaning, but clearly they're still out there because Beanie Bishop got the message. He understood the assignment. And the funniest part about all of this, little old Pat Narduzzi just has to say something, right? Or tweet something. And obviously it's in reference to Beanie's stomp, because if it's not, then it's just ironic timing And yeah, we know how Pat Narduzzi works. That's not the case. It's exactly what it seems. And once again, Pat's wrong. Shocking, right? So yesterday morning, so this was been, probably 12, 15 hours after it happened, Narduzzi threw this tweet up. Quiet time, he says, class/respect. And then shared a quote from the great Paul Bear Bryant that says, show class, have pride, and display character. If you do, winning takes care of itself. Well, that's interesting, Pat, because I think a few years ago, if my mind serves me right, and actually, I don't even have to worry about my memory. We've got the video right here. Oh, yeah, your quarterback, Katon Slovis, at a pep rally didn't say anything very clean about West Virginia, and nothing was said afterwards about that. There was no Pat Narduzzi coming down on Keaton saying, hey, we got to keep this respectful. We got to keep it clean. We can hate all we want, but we got to be respectful and clean. That never happened. Here's the video from a few years ago.
Hail to Pitt. And I got one more thing to say. West Virginia.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting right there. This guy, I mean, and this has nothing to do with covering West Virginia, having grown up in West Virginia, being raised in West Virginia, about my view on Pat Narduzzi. And I think a lot of people in Pittsburgh would probably agree, whether maybe not the fans, but there's certain people in the media in Pittsburgh that would probably agree with this, that Narduzzi is just a little different in the fact that he always tries to push people's buttons, right? Whether he tries to do it in quiet time or not, he certainly tries to find a way, and he always kind of stretches the truth a little bit, right? Or contradicts himself in this circumstance. Because how can you say that, stomping on the logo's disrespectful and, stuff like that, and not a couple of days before that he was on a radio show talking about how sometimes what West Virginia says about Pitt is not clean. Okay, but then your quarterback just 3 years ago says that. Like, you see where I'm going here? Like, for me, I'm okay with it. I don't care that Katon Slovis shouts that. If I'm a West Virginia fan, if I'm a Pitt fan, I don't care that Beanie Bishop stomps on the logo. Now, maybe you take some bit of offense to it. Yes. Is it going to be something that should absolutely ruin your day? No. It should be something that we're cheering about and happy about, because this is an example of the rivalry still meaning something to kids that are bouncing all over the place every year. The brawl still means something to these young men, and that is the story that I'm taking away from it. It would be the same exact thing if Eli Holstein was dancing on a West Virginia logo. I'd be sitting here saying, West Virginia fans, chill out. Yes, you can be mad, but it's the rivalry. That's what makes it a rivalry. You're not friends and patting each other on the back and giving each other hugs and slaps on the butt because you're best friends. No, this is a rivalry for a reason. And I don't understand why Pat Narduzzi tries to, contradict himself here, tries to stretch the truth. If you want to talk about being respectful, Pat, how about telling the truth about West Virginia fans? Talking about how a beer can was thrown at you or the players or something on the field. I've never seen a single reported incident, at least during your time at Pitt, where a beer can was thrown at you or the player on a field. Now, if it did, I'll rightfully walk that back, but I don't remember that ever being the case. He's also talked about WVU fans being rowdy, and yeah, that part's true, but there were some other things that he said in the past that weren't necessarily true. Like, he tries to put the West Virginia fan base down, and I've never really seen a coach do that. Like, even in a rivalry, I just see coaches stay away from that stuff. Now, Rich Rod, he certainly speaks from the heart. He tells, his feelings about Pitt. But I don't think he's ever gone beyond the line of, saying certain things about Pitt fans or what their actions may have been or not been. Pat, I mean, come on, man. It's a rivalry. What do you expect? Do you expect Beanie, just because he's a part of the Steelers now and happens to be in the building that you guys pay rent for, essentially? Do you think he's just going to step in and see that script 4-letter logo and go, "Oh man, this is beautiful. I'm going to get down and kiss it and just praise it"? And no, he'd do what anybody would do. That's from West Virginia, which is what he did. So relax, man. It's literally just it's a yes, it's a sign of disrespect. You can get upset about it, but don't contradict yourself and act like your world's all perfect, shiny, and clean when your quarterback just a couple of years ago was screaming that at a pep rally. Talking about keeping it clean, right? That's not clean, my friend. In fact, that's probably worse than rubbing a little couple of, you know, foot marks on our logo. Let's get real. Enough of that stuff. That was a lot of fun. I always like talking about the Backyard Brawl. We are actually officially 100 days away from kickoff between the Panthers and Mountaineers on September 13th. So we can start that counter officially today. But let's quickly move on to the baseball team. I did want to mention them before we get to the weekend here, because this has just been an unprecedented run that Steve Saban's and this crew have been on. They've been phenomenal all year. And look, you're going to have a spell where things just don't go right. It's baseball. It's going to happen. You fail 70% of the time in baseball and you're considered great, right? When we're talking about guys at the plate. So you're going to see an extreme amount of failure in the sport. And the fact that they were able to kind of overcome that little cold stretch that they went through at the end of the last month of the season, and then kind of went 2-0 at the Big 12 tournament. For them to bounce back and go and do what they did in Clemson, that's remarkable. That's a testament to the team. That's a testament to Steve Stabens and his staff to get these guys refocused and back on track and pressing all the right buttons. Look, he made a lot of tough decisions. I mean, this wasn't just guys that were the guys all year making these plays. I mean, it was the 7 through 9 hitters that were doing the job mainly. And Armani Guzman, the number 9 hole hitter, he's the regional MVP. I mean, he pulls Grant Hussey out of the starting lineup, who's the all-time leader in home runs at West Virginia, inserts Ben Lumsden, who has had, well, quite the time at the plate this year, and he goes in and has himself a tournament. I mean, it's just a really, really gutsy calls, I should say, that Steve made in that regional, and it paid off. And wow, hats off to them. They'll go to Baton Rouge this weekend for a best-of-3 series against one of the biggest powers in all of college baseball in LSU. And when you talk about money, you talk about really the guys that they've sent to the big leagues, the history there, the championships that they have. I want to say they have 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 World Series titles in their trophy case. I mean, it's a legitimate program, and it's a tall task. It kind of makes that David versus Goliath feel a little bit going into this thing, but hey, expectations were meant to be surpassed, and Steve Sabans and this crew have done it time and time again. And what better way to really put a punctuation mark on this year one under Sabans than going down to Baton Rouge and pulling off the damn thing and going to Omaha? I mean, that would be phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, my initial feeling about this series is like, oh boy, this is not going to go well. And it couldn't. It may not. And I'm usually pretty harsh. I'm usually pretty brutal on the truth and looking at the situation like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. For some weird reason, I've got this little feeling like right in here that tells me they might do it. They might go and do it. Now, it's not going to be easy by any circumstance. Like, this is a very good LSU team, very good bullpen arms, very good starting pitching. They're going to have to earn it. They're going to have to steal bases. They're going to be aggressive on the base pass. They're going to have to get really good pitching from their starters. But even more importantly, if they do have a lead, that bullpen cannot collapse like it did for the better part of the last month of the season. That happens, it's going to be a quick trip. You're going to be 2 and out. But I just get that feeling, man, that like this, some teams are just, even when everything's stacked against them, they come in and play with a chip on their shoulder. This is that team. They were disrespected all year. No one thought they should have been in the top 25. No one thought they should have been hosting. Even when they were playing well, they were considered outside of hosting potential. And even the way they finished the season, you could have made an argument. They're probably closer to being a regional than not, or hosting a regional than not. They didn't get that. They go to Clemson. They were one of 3 teams that won all 3 games in their regional and did so against power opponents. That's crazy. This team is feeling something right now. They're hot, they're confident, and they believe they can go down and win this series. So, again, hats off to Steve Sabins and that crew. Be really cool to see them get to Omaha, but we'll see how things pan out this weekend. Game 1 starting on Saturday afternoon. We'll have all the coverage for you on our website at West Virginia on SI. That's going to do it for me today and this week on Between the Ears. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a like here on our page at West Virginia on SI. Next week, by the way, we're going to talk a little bit more about football, but we're going to get our guy Eugene Napoleon on the show, my co-host on the Walkthrough Game Day show, which is back, I believe, for a 7th season. I think this is our 7th year doing that show. So excited to get him back on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming year and get his thoughts on where the Mountaineers stand. So thank you guys for tuning in for our return to the show here this week. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Take care.